Do you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome in. Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday. 94.3 The Game. It is good to have you guys join us here on this Wednesday. It's good to have Bobby Harward back in studio. And I'm excited about today's show because it's kind of a free-for-all Wednesday. ECU basketball is off this week. Both the men and women have the midweek off, so we'll talk big picture basketball items, which we did yesterday with Case and Romali. We'll get into some of that. Philip Pilkins hit behind the glass. We'll talk a little bit of Super Bowl as well. We'll get Bobby's latest Panthers rant. We might talk some MLB, but also, Bobby, apparently it's signing day, and I cover recruiting firsthand, and there's nothing going on hardly.
Isn't February signing day so boring now?
It's so I would say anticlimactic, but people don't even get excited for it, so it's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's like that December signing day has completely put this one on the back burner. I remember it being so important when we were on staff with Ruff. We had our video people there. Of course, they do the whole spiel, so you can put a video on YouTube of getting there in the office, getting the faxes, and coaches celebrating when you have, a guy commit that it's kind of a battle between two or three schools, and he announces on signing day. And now I feel like those days are just over in general. I feel like most of the time kids commit over the summer now because of the recruiting calendar and the visits and all that stuff.
Yeah, Philip and I were talking pre-show, and we were trying to kind of figure out when early signing day started. And, he was asking me, who all signs on early signing day. I'm like, now pretty much everybody. The only people that are signing today, usually late bloomers, guys who, were committed or close to committing to a school, and then maybe a spot either got dropped or a spot filled up, so they're looking for somewhere to land. You have one of those guys who signed with ECU today, the official signee of the day, Torin Brazel, out of Bradford High School, defensive lineman, 6'2", 250. He'll probably play on the edge to start with, but they think he'll grow into more of an interior guy maybe in time. But you have guys like that who played for a smaller high school, had some interest but was kind of overlooked, very productive. He signs with ECU after visiting in January. But, and then they're also – so we're waiting on C.J. Hurd to make a decision. And, again, he was a guy who was a Florida State commitment from summer of 22 until November of 23. So he had offers from everybody. Then Florida State dropped him. And now he's looking for a home, and his decision down to ECU FAU. There was reports he was down to Colorado, UCLA. Now he's down to ECU FAU. So I don't know. Have you been following that at all, Bobby, on the board? And it's just recruiting, man. It's just kind of crazy right now.
Yeah. Thankfully, I left coaching before that early signing period and the calendar changed and all that stuff. I got a good buddy out at Southern Cal on Lincoln's staff, and he just is like, dude, you're so lucky you got out when you did because it sucks now. He's like, they intentionally, and I say I'll use it broad and not just USC, but bigger schools, they focus recruiting on college freshmen now. So it's the recruitment just continues throughout after high school. When I was at ECU, it was just the junior college signing day in December, which I've mentioned that before on this show. Jeff Comfer apparently had no idea about.
Right. I remember that.
When he let Ruff go, Donnie Kirkpatrick was kind of running the show until we got a new head coach, and he said, do you want us to sign these guys? And Comfer had no idea there was a December signing day for junior college, which in and of itself, it kind of just –
that's the leader of your athletic department.
Right, yeah.
With your most important sport.
But in terms of specifically the guys that we have, I'm at the signing today – I don't know. I always get very intrigued with these late signees. The reason I say that is I always go back to Tay Cooper. He was one of our last guys we could get in. Some of these guys that do just slip through the cracks, and the defensive lineman we got, he seems like a low-profile guy, which is also another reason I'm intrigued by it. I'm not as intrigued as much by C.J. Hurd because it seems like he's enjoying the attention here in these last few weeks. Now, it does suck for him to be committed for so long to Florida State and then to get dropped. So obviously he had a commitment in place there and wasn't all about the drama. But now recently it just seems like he's loving the attention, and that gives me a concern because we have not had very much luck with that here at ECU.
Antoine Jackson comes to mind, but hey, it is what it is. By the way, ECU got a rare upgrade with one of his commitments and signees, Yannick Smith, wide receiver out of Somerville High School. He was elevated from first off, he was a mid 3-star. He got elevated at the Shrine Bowl to a high 3-star. Then he signed with ECU, and I always get told, hey, if they sign with ECU, what are they going to do? They're going to get dropped. Well, Bobby, Yannick Smith was elevated by both 24/7 Sports and On 3 to a 4-star recruit after signing with ECU. So it can happen.
It can happen very rarely, but it can happen. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
I noticed, I guess this was before the December signing day. I think we were like first or second in the American Conference team recruiting rankings. I believe we were maybe competing with South Florida, who's coming off a great year.
Right.
Now I looked again this morning, and we're 5th. Is that because of the transfer commitments and all that stuff? Like, I think Charlotte may have leaped us. I know in ESPN's rankings, we were like 7th in the American, but I see we're 5th here. What, I guess, is the reason for the drop-off?
So it's interesting because 24/7 Sports uses – so there's a 24/7 Sports ranking, and then there's a 24/7 Sports composite ranking. And so ECU, according to 24/7 Sports, looks like is 5th, and then the 24/7 Sports composite, which is the number underneath this, is 4th. And then you got like Charlotte, which is 4th, and then 7th. So I think, honestly, we have changed this so many times, but the composite rank is just the high school and JUCO. So that is where ECU ranks 5th. And then the overall rank is a combination of transfer class and high school/junior college. And honestly, ECU's, like the guy who committed today, Brazil, has not been evaluated yet, so that number could still change. But you've had what I think has happened is a lot of these schools have ended up adding a lot more commitments. But it has USF with 28 commits. There's no way they have 28 high school commits. So this may be, let's see here, 12 enrollees, 16. I guess they do. They got 28 high school commits. So a lot of this, too, is numbers driven. I mean, nearly 30 commits for USF, 27 for Tulsa. So if you take away, if you go more on average ranking, ECU is just behind those schools. So I guess they've added more in the last month, to answer your question. I was just kind of working through all that in my head.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's why I was curious, especially Charlotte. Like, that one probably surprised me, so I wondered if the transfer rankings, because with those guys, obviously we know they took a lot of those SEC guys that may not be proven but are still kind of carrying those higher stars or rankings just based upon their high school profile. So was curious about that because obviously maybe we are developing a rivalry with them. We'll see.
So Charlotte, you have 22 commits, and their average ranking of the commits is 84.04. ECU's average rating is 84.10. So basically they're being evaluated about the same. USF looks to have the best class, both ratings and numbers-wise, which I guess isn't a surprise when you're in Florida. You know, those guys get a lot of attention. And then Tulsa, surprising that they have the second highest rated class, both in terms of commitments and average ranking. Didn't have Tulsa cleaning up and recruiting.
Not at all. Like, Tulsa is just not a very desirable place. It's a very small campus. And then Coach Wilson, I'm going blank on his first.
Wilson.
Kevin, formerly at Indiana, is the head coach there. So he's like an older white guy that I just kind of wouldn't expect to be able to relate to some of these younger guys coming out. So I was shocked to see that. I see North Texas isn't trailing too far behind. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years if we see them creep up, being that they're in Dallas. Obviously, that's just Texas in general is a recruiting hotbed. Memphis has the NIL money from FedEx to back it up. Plus, they've put in a lot of money to their facilities and stuff. So things there are pretty nice right now.
Surprised to see UTSA towards the bottom of this list, but I guess they're more heavily focused on the portal. And then Rice towards the bottom, not a surprise. UAB, Navy, Temple. So, Yeah, we'll see. You know, again, we'll see what happens with C.J. Hurd. I think if ECU can, you know, and recruiting rankings aren't everything, but if ECU can continually finish in the top 4 or 5 of the league in recruiting and develop and find that balance between transfers and everything, Bobby, I think, look, it's just hard to recruit ECU. People don't understand. If you get them here, it's easier, but, you know, you are located off the map, so to speak. So it's not like you're in a major metro area where like basically every school in the American is in a metro area except for East Carolina. So like people don't realize how hard it is to get recruits here. And you've been on staff. Like it's hard to get people to drive or fly to Greenville.
Well, that's why having official visits while students are in school in season, because a big selling point of ECU is the stadium atmosphere. Like our facilities, at least they're much improved now. They're still not the level it needs to be, but they are improved a lot from when I was there. And like that was the thing. We had to sell the stadium atmosphere. And like we had to also sell to our administration, hey, stadium atmosphere is not a facility. We also need these facility upgrades too. And I think this new admin team is finally, you know, getting there. And obviously, because of the financial issues, we're kind of still behind the curve getting there and having to fully fundraise before we get this indoor. But, I mean, that was one thing, transitioning a little bit to basketball, thinking last night, and we were talking a little before the show, like South Florida and Charlotte, it really pisses me off that they have jumped us in basketball and they're doing so well.
Quickly, too.
Very quickly. And, I mean, historically, Charlotte's had a better basketball program. I don't think that's even up for debate. But in recent memory, it hasn't been great. And then they lose their coach, and they have this interim coach come in over the summer. And then South Florida has always been the team that we could suck with. Like, both of us are just bad. We probably split 1-1. Maybe we can go 2-0. And now you have both teams competing last night in 8-1 in conference. And, like, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, you're attracting kids to Tampa, Florida, and you're attracting kids to Charlotte, North Carolina. Both are more metropolitan areas, like – and it's hard, I would imagine, even further to get a basketball recruit into Greenville, let alone when we don't have the atmosphere that we're selling like we are in football.
Philip, you're from the Charlotte area. How much did you, and you may have already had ties to ECU growing up, but did you how much ECU buzz is there in the Charlotte area, if at all?
There's a good amount. So I had a decent amount of teachers who were alumni. And then also my dad worked for a company where they had an office in Raleigh, and actually a lot of the guys that he worked directly with were in Raleigh. And most of the guys that worked in the Raleigh office were frat guys here at ECU in the early to mid-'90s. So I had that. But, yeah, I had a bunch of teachers that would, their screensaver on their smart board was them in the student section at ECU back in the day when everybody used to paint themselves like skeletons and stuff. So it was always told, hey, best student section in college football in the state of North Carolina. They probably shouldn't have been telling us this. It was a great party atmosphere as they're talking to a bunch of 16-year-olds, but, they said it without saying it. So I had a decent amount of buzz for ECU. I would say more so than App or Wilmington or really any of the other non-Power 5 programs.
Did you ever come to ECU before, visiting to come to school here?
No, I didn't. I would like to have come to a game, but, with me always playing basketball, football, baseball growing up, I was pretty much every Saturday was booked till I got into high school, and then I was still playing during the season, playing football and running track in high school. And then on top of that, with us having Panthers tickets, it was tough to make 2 football games in a weekend. So I had not actually been to Greenville before.
Are there a lot of season ticket holders out in Charlotte, that do make the trek? Did you know of any season ticket holders? I'm curious about that because that's a 4-hour drive. Yeah.
Yeah, not as much. I knew more of them in Raleigh. I knew a lot of them in Raleigh. There were a few people. Most of them ones I knew in Charlotte were younger, as in recent grads, and they would always come back from the homecoming game and then try and make 1 or 2 other games, but not as many season ticket holders. I don't want to say I never met any of them, but I would say more in the Raleigh and the Triangle area.
So long story short, it's hard to get from places like Charlotte to Greenville because it's far away But at least you did have some exposure to East Carolina. It's just, it's hard to get here. It's hard to convince a Charlotte high school football recruit, which is a hotbed for a lot of schools. Everybody recruits Charlotte to get to Greenville. So, something else I want to ask y'all. Look, ECU, we always hear recruit local, blah, 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 and I agree to an extent. This recruiting class, you got 4 guys from Florida as it stands right now, 3 signed guys from North Carolina, 4 from South Carolina, 3 from Georgia, 2 from Virginia, 1 from Alabama, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee. So it's kind of all over the Southeast. Are you y'all recruited North Carolina pretty big under Ruff, and Scotty did too. I remember them championing that, they were the North Carolina state champions for the only school to sign double-digit recruits in North Carolina. That didn't really work out. Many of those guys were busts. Where do you fall in the recruit local thing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe 15 years ago that was great.
Yeah.
I know it was a priority for Ruff's staff. Like, he wanted every single high school hit and touch, and if he would get pissed if he found out that one of the coaches skipped a school.
Right.
He would legitimately get angry and fuss at him a little bit. Because he's from North Carolina. I think some of it just depends on the class too. Like, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect here, North Carolina was just down in terms of
it's
talent.
been kind of down the last few years, honestly.
And I think it's going to change going into this next year. I think it's going to be a little bit more talented. So, and that's the other thing here. Like, you're filtering through the North Carolina State, and then you're filtering also Duke and Wake Forest, who, ACC, people want to play in the ACC more than they want to play in the American. And then now you add that was my biggest concern with Charlotte joining just FBS football in general is like, all right, now these guys that we could rely on and recruit in Charlotte to still play Division I football but just go 4 hours east can now stay more local. And then it really puts a dent in your South Carolina recruiting as well. So I don't think to me, just go where the talent is. Like, and that was a big reason, I think, towards the latter part of Ruff's tenure there, we did start to evolve a little bit in the sense of, like, us as GAs got recruiting areas to make sure, like, we still span it within the Southeast and up into New Jersey, but just to make sure, like, some of these guys we don't miss on because it was so hard to compete with those in-state schools getting in-state talent.
I'm a big fan of anybody in Georgia, specifically the Atlanta area. I feel like most of the guys ECU has signed from that area have panned out if they're good students and stay in school. And Florida as well. I mean, you do have to filter through. There's just so many schools that recruit those areas. But I just feel like even the second, third, fourth tier kids from those schools, it's just so much talent there.
Well, and here's a big reason why. It's the pay of the coaches. Like, they have better programs because the state invests more into their coaches, into their athletics programs. Like, I'll never forget David Mackey finishing up on staff, and he was like, how much do you make? Because he was considering staying and doing high school coaching. I said, he's like, how much do you make coaching? I was like, my stipend's like $3,000 for coaching.
Right.
And he's like, no way, get out. And I'm like, yeah, what did you make in Georgia? He said, dude, a good coordinator makes $30,000 to $40,000 in Georgia.
Wow. For a high school.
For a high school. And so obviously, I mean, we've seen it too locally. Havelock, like Caleb went down to South Carolina, and you got other guys around the state going down to South Carolina and to Georgia and stuff like that. Like, they have better programs, so kids at those schools acclimate better when they get to the college level because they're run more similarly to a college program at the high school level. So I think a lot of it comes down to the funding in the state as well.
I had a, just kind of going off that, sorry. My high school coach, my senior year, we got a new one. It was his first year as a head coach. He coached there my freshman year of college and got a job offer in South Carolina. I don't know what the raise was, but he said that he would be stupid not to take it. Like, it was crazy with how much more he was being paid to move like an hour and a half away as opposed to staying in North Carolina.
It's crazy, man. I do wish, you had a bigger investment in North Carolina high school football. Not that it's bad, but it's just like, it's just some of the times we've seen 4 or 5-star kids from Eastern North Carolina not pan out because, they're playing pretty weak competition comparatively speaking. So we'll see. You do have to recruit local, but I also think you got to hit those metro areas too if possible. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We will shift gears. We'll get into some Pirate basketball, and then we'll also talk Panthers in the same segment. We'll make Bobby as mad as possible, see how much we can get him going. We're also live on YouTube, Facebook. If you guys have a question, drop it. If you want us to address anything, it's kind of a free-for-all Wednesday, and we'll address whatever you guys want. on the show. All right, this is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
It's Greenville Toyota's Winter Wrap-Up Event. Wrap up a great deal on over 100 pre-owned vehicles, starting under $15,000. We have all makes and models, including luxury. Plus, wrap up a huge warranty and no-charge maintenance. Hurry into Greenville Toyota.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hey, grab me one too.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
It's Greenville Toyota's Winter Wrap-Up Event. We're wrapping up the year with our biggest savings. Shop new Camrys and RAV4s, $289 a month. Need credit? Get pre-qualified today. Wrap up a great deal with payments from $289 at Greenville Toyota.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
matey!
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in, Hoist the Colors on this Wednesday. We've got Bobby Harward in studio. Philip Pilkington is producing. Bobby's appearance today brought to you by Basil's Restaurant and Pizzeria. Check them out, 1675 East Fire Tower Road. As the spring comes, take advantage of their outdoor seating. Great spot to chill, and over by the movie theater as well. So catch dinner, grab a movie, or watch a movie. And did I just say catch dinner, grab a movie? I meant to say grab dinner, catch a movie. That would work a lot better. It'd be kind of hard to catch dinner. So do that. Basil's, 1675 East Fire Tower Road. Great food, pasta, salad, pizza, everything you need. Burgers, all sorts of good stuff at Basil's. All right, I want to give a shout-out. We had Kim McNeil and Danae McNeil on, and Tatiana Weish on the Monday Inside Pirate Athletics from Tiebreakers. The women's basketball program joined us with Mike Schwartz on the road recruiting. The ladies have won 4 out of 5. They return home to host Charlotte. Hopefully, it's been a struggle against Charlotte in every sport, Bobby. And so ECU due to get one this Saturday. It'll be the girls and women in sports game, 2 o'clock, February 10th this Saturday. And both teams, I think, are right around the same spot in the standings. ECU a game out of first place. There's like a log jam in the top 6 or 7 of the league. So the Pirates owe the Niners one. Hopefully it comes Saturday.
We got to win something because I know Charlotte fans are wanting a rivalry, but it's hard to be considered a rivalry when one side is winning the whole time.
Yeah, it's been painful. By the way, 2 o'clock tip-off. Again, the girls and women's and sports game inside Minji's Coliseum this Saturday. Huge game, so get out there, support the women. Also, ECU softball gets underway starting tomorrow. Shane Winkler, we had him in studio last Thursday. The Pirates will open their season at Charleston Southern Thursday at 5 o'clock. That'll be available on ESPN+. And then they will play a lot of games in a short amount of time in the Charleston Invitational this coming weekend. So huge weekend for softball. And also big weekend for women's basketball. All right, let's talk men's basketball. You ready?
I'm ready.
The Pirates, we had I don't know if you listened to any yesterday's show. We kind of had a discussion, Bobby, about how could the Pirates turn their season around? I guess you commented, so you probably listened to something.
Yeah, I did listen to it. Yep.
We got into the whole discussion about, like, why does ECU basketball just always struggle? And my thing is now, people always want to point to the past, which is a factor, but you're investing more than you ever have in basketball. So, like, at what point can we expect results is the question.
Should have been last year. I mean, honestly, that's when we should have started expecting it. Like, we've made the jump financially. We have the transfer portal, which I know Kaysen had mentioned, and I agree with 100%. It is easier now to get better quicker with the transfer portal than it has ever been. Like, you used to have to hope that you would get a guy that falls through the cracks and then doesn't transfer. I mean, we saw that we actually got some of those guys, and they did transfer. Elijah Hughes, ACC Player of the Year before he finished up at Syracuse. Jaden Garner at for UVA, Noah Farrakhan or whatever.
Farrakhan, yeah.
Yeah, he's playing well, I believe, at West Virginia.
Yeah, he went to Eastern Michigan, then West Virginia.
Like, you have all these guys that have just – they've come
Tristan
here.
Newton.
Tristan Newton, yes. I can't believe I forgot that one. I mean, like, it's just – I don't know. It's super frustrating to me. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but it really just irks me that, you know, we have this program that has just been in the dumpster for years. I mean, we're going with 30 years now since we last made the NCAA tournament. And we have South Florida and Charlotte, who's new to the conference, and we're just – I mean, we're still the dumps, and they're 8-1. And it's like they both got these – like the coach excuse, like a new coach, new program, that doesn't fly anymore because, as we see, Charlotte guy got announced over the summer, and this is a new coach at South Florida. They're both in their first season. Like, so the whole coaching thing doesn't fly to me. And, like, I'm good with – I think Shorts can get year 3. But here's my thing. Unless there's a philosophy change in how he approaches the portal and how he recruits, after year 3, if there's zero improvement, I'm good with him moving on. Just because – and my reason is, like, he has a chance now to adjust. He did what he thought was best at the time, which is going for continuity, which I did not disagree with. I was actually in favor of after we've seen all those years with Joe Dooley. But now seeing it's not playing out, like, honestly, R.J. Felton and Brandon Johnson are the only two that I'm surefire want back. Everybody else, I am cool if we get 10 new transfers in.
Yeah, there was a year Dooley brought in 11 transfers, and they were worse than the year before. So it doesn't automatically mean that it's a fix. You still have to find the balance. Like, I mean – and you got to have some NIL money, too, if you're going to go that route right now. I mean, back then, when Dooley did that complete blow-up, it was just Jaden Gardner, Seth Leday, and everybody else was new. And then Seth Leday left the team like a week into the season. He got sent back to his hotel room at one of the tournaments and left the team. Inside story there. But I don't know, like, is it just a culture thing, Philip? Like, I don't know, like, so many people I talk to, ECU lost to Charlotte. Oh, well, that's not a surprise. ECU, has always stunk in basketball. Charlotte's always been good. That's like the typical response I get. But I'm like, how do you change that mentality, especially when ECU is now spending more money than schools like Charlotte coming into the league that are trying to catch up? It's just, is it a mentality culture thing, and how do you even get past that?
Well, one of the things where ECU's disadvantage is going back to our previous site when talking about football recruiting, it's even harder to get someone here for basketball. And then on top of that, you get them in here, and what atmosphere do they have? At least to Bobby's point, you could sell them the atmosphere in football. We don't have that. And then they look up at the rafters and they see this team's been to 2 NCAA tournaments, and they've had a basketball program for 70 years or whatever. We don't even have our 2 retired jerseys hanging in the rafters. Like, Doesn't make sense. So I think the unfortunate thing is until you hit on something that turns it around, that's the unanswerable question almost. And then once you do hit on something, you almost have to ride it out and continue to have it hit for an extended period of time to stay relevant. I mean, when you look at other schools around here, Davidson until this past year had a coach that had been there for 40 years. VCU has been to a Final Four in every single collegiate athlete's lifetime who's currently playing. Charlotte had the Bobby Lutz days, and then, we were at their gym where they had 8,200 people at a game. Yeah, I mean, it was the biggest crowd they had in a long time, but that place is still rocking, and they put a lot, the facilities are a lot nicer. So the unfortunate thing is you just have to hit on something that was stacked when the odds were stacked against you, and then when you do, it becomes a desirable destination. So what you almost need is you need Mike Schwartz to go to the NCAA tournament like Kim McNeil did last year, and then people want to come play for Mike Schwartz. And then if he leaves and takes a bigger job, at least people say, hey, this school's had a lot of recent success. There's a lot of hype around them. The fans are all involved. The same way we're invested in baseball, right? Like, would ECU baseball have all of this fandom around it if they stunk? No, but they've been so good for so many years, and now it's easy to stay good because when kids, come here recruiting. Sorry about that. When kids come here for recruiting, we're putting 6,000 people in there for a Tuesday night game against Carolina. Like, what other place is doing that? So I think I looked at, we were like 20th in attendance last year in the entire country in baseball. So that's the unfortunate thing is you need that one thing to hit. And until then, I don't know if there's much you can do other than just attempt to get better and put more money into it.
I had no idea we had retired jerseys. No idea. No
Exactly.
idea.
I don't even know. I didn't even know that.
We have one men's player and one women's player, and their jerseys are not in the rafters.
How are they not in the Raptors? Like, how? I mean, did one AD? Does our AD know there's jerseys retired? Like, does he know that?
Yes.
Maybe
I know some stuff. I just don't want to
not
get in
enough
trouble.
room.
What am I allowed to say right now? I will say someone in the athletic department recently discovered this, kind of heckled the high ups, and they were like, "Okay, we'll take care of it, but I don't want to say too much. Get the high ups like slandered here." But they were like, "All right, you got to quit heckling us about this. We have other stuff that, yes, you're right, but." Well, maybe that's kind of an off-the-record conversation. Probably shouldn't be saying as much as I'm saying right now.
Last time they tried to unfurl a banner.
It
didn't go so well. So maybe we need to make sure we have our operation down and I don't know, maybe have a game to recognize these people so we could educate. I mean, I cover the team and I see the banners, but obviously don't see those, so I don't even know about it. Tommy on Facebook says, best, honest, and real conversation I've heard in a long time. Thank you. Keep it real. Thanks, Tommy, for tuning in. I mean, and I feel like enough people care about ECU basketball. Like I always hear, people don't care. ECU is fourth in the conference in attendance, even ahead of Charlotte after the sellout the other day. So it's like, I think it's Wichita, Memphis, and maybe North Texas. One of the other schools is just ahead of ECU. And then, so like you're getting enough people to the game for a program that has never won in this century. It's just and like. I do agree with you, Philip. Like, you need something to hold on to. Like, you need some luck. You just need, like, one lucky 4 or 5 game winning streak. But that's never happened. They've never won more than 2 games in the American in a row, which is just hard to believe. It's just, it's frustrating to talk about.
It's so annoying. And that kind of surprises me. We're fourth. I wonder, is that ticket sales or actually butts and seats?
I guess it's just tickets sold, reported attendance.
Because that, like, can we get the purple seat thing fixed? Like, I'm tired of. Like I took Dacre to the game against Temple, my son, and I wanted to get purple seats, but they're all sold out. But then you look down there, there's like hundreds of purple seats available, and that's just, I don't know, that's frustrating. It's awesome that they sold out because that's more revenue coming into our athletic department. But let's figure out a good functioning system to let those go up for resale if we're not going to utilize them. I know the Iron Dukes, like they're supporters get refunded. So if I were to purchase somebody's tickets, like they get refunded for those tickets, which I think is a great idea. And to your point, like people do care. I've told you already, I'm going to get season tickets next year. I have not bought season tickets for basketball yet. My son absolutely loves it. So we're going to get season tickets, and even though our out-of-conference schedule is going to be booty, like it's fun to go to the games, and I don't know. It's just frustrating to get optimism and hope every single year, and just to be disappointed time and time again. And it's almost like it's the same, but it's not the same, if that makes sense. Like, it's the same cycle. Like, we get hot because our out-of-conference schedule sucks, and then we think we're better than we are, and then we get into conference play and we fall off. And in years past, it's been like, all right, let's just bring in 2 or 3 more guys. Okay, let's do a complete reset. We do the complete reset. Okay, let's bring in 1 or 2 more guys. And it's just over and over and over again. It seems to fail. And this place can get rocking if we get some atmosphere. Like, you've seen really good atmospheres. I have older Pirate friends who talk about the Marquette game when they came in here with Dwayne Wade. Like, the Wichita State game a few years ago is one that comes to my mind that I attended. So it's just something has to give. Honestly, I'm at the point, just freaking cheat. Just cheat in recruiting like we saw Memphis do it.
Why not?
Why not? I mean, they've still got notoriety now, being that they're Memphis, and it's all because of Jalen Rose having somebody else take Derrick Rose, somebody else taking the SAT for him. Like, let a Calipari cheater. Let's get Josh Pastner in here. Let's let him cheat his way into some recruiting wins and put some product on the field or on the court, because eventually, like, to Philip's point, if we can stack some wins, like if Shorts does win and make it happen and turns it around, it's a desirable job now.
He can go wherever he wants to go. If you win at ECU.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever job you want to go. So, I mean, it's a hard job, but it's gotten better despite what people say. Like, the investments there. ECU is now in the middle of the pack in the league in budget. It's not like they're at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so, you don't have to deal with Houston, UCF, all those schools anymore. So, I know we got to get a break in, but it's like every time ECU goes on one of these 2-game winning streaks, I get hype, fans get hype, and then it just falls apart. You just got to get over that hump somehow.
One last point, too, of why this is attractive. Like, I mean, we play on Wednesday and Thursday nights on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU. Like, outside of the ACC and the Big 12 that get those premier spots in ESPN, we're still getting, like, the eyes and the viewership just in the latter half of the week. So, like, it's a desirable basketball conference to be a part of if you're obviously not in that upper – like, this is the next best thing.
Right.
So it can be an attractive destination. We just got to figure out something to get it right.
Just look at USF and Charlotte the last 2 games and their buildings, those games, notoriety, ESPNU, ESPN2, and big wins, big crowds. It can happen. All right, we will switch gears. We'll talk NFL. Got to get some Panthers in, and we'll talk Super Bowl preview as well on the other side. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Fifth Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays. Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous 5th Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. 5th Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-947.
The Pirates play here. This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes, that was so good.
On 94.3, The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on this Wednesday. We're talking jersey retirement. It's got me thinking. There's not too many 1,000-point scorers in ECU history. R.J. Felton is just 43 points away from scoring 1,000. He's a junior, so maybe we could see that number 3 retired, hanging in the rafters one day. You never know. I mean, he's had a heck of a career, man.
He has.
As frustrating as this team is to watch, R.J. is a pleasure to watch.
He's quickly turned into my favorite player on this team, no doubt. I was a big Brandon Johnson fan, just because of his size and
Right.
ability to shoot the 3, but just to see the heart and the effort that R.J. Felton puts in, like, he's my favorite dude on this team right now. So I enjoy watching R.J. Great job. Keep it up, dude.
Alex Marion says agree with Bobby 100%. I don't know what he's talking about, maybe all of it. And Stevens getting Bobby all flustered today, according to RBN.
You hadn't seen him flustered yet.
Yeah,
Let's
we haven't even
talk
gotten to Panthers.
Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, so have we talked to you since the press conference for why can't I remember his name?
Dave Canales.
Canales.
Yeah.
When was that? That was late last week.
That
right?
was late last week. I don't think we talked about it. We took the week off of our Panther segment last week.
Okay.
And so we have.
What did you think?
You know, I told you this before we went on air, and I'll share this with everyone. I have gone to the mindset of, you know what? I wasn't thrilled with the Dave Canales hire, but I'm going to give some optimism to the Panthers. I liked a lot of what he said in the press conference. Obviously, he's doing something right with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. And then I watched something on Underdog Fantasy, a little video they did on Dave Canales' third down calls through the first 2 weeks. And honestly, I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be because there wasn't a lot to his play calls. It was just Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are better than anybody else in the defensive secondary. So that's kind of what I came away with. But still, like, the general mojo and vibe of Canales, I was happy with. Dan Morgan, I've been a lot more suspect about. I've been a lot more, like, this is the second in command to the previous GM who just produced a 2-15 team. And you're going to hire him and retain him. But I was like, you know what? I'm still going to be optimistic about this. And then I'm listening to a podcast, and they mention how Mike Lombardi, former GM and executive with the Patriots and I believe the Raiders, has a podcast called the GM Shuffle. And right after the season ends, he says, it's a weird situation in Carolina. I've heard Dan Morgan may get the job. He has gotten close in a tight relationship with Nicole Tepper, the owner's wife. And I lose it after that, dude. I'm like, what credentials does Nicole Tepper have to hire somebody as a GM? Like, we've mentioned it before. David Tepper, like, it sucks he's in the football decisions, but at least he's built up like a business empire. Like, he has hired people, all this stuff. He's really just letting Nicole join things to hire good people. In their defense, for the most part, like, Frank Wright was a good person. They've hired good people. Scott Fitter didn't do a great job, really good dude. But you're going to let Nicole Tepper come in here and say, yeah, I'm close with Dan Morgan. I like him. He's a good person, so let's promote him. After coming off a 2-15 campaign, so I completely lost all optimism after that because it's like I know they're trying to say Tepper's not staying involved, and that may be good and well for this offseason. What happens when they're 0-3? When they're 0-3, does he say, hey, I need to fix this? Like, does he just step in? So I lost my optimism quickly, and I'm back in just the pooper with the Panthers.
Maybe the answer is to let Nicole make the decisions above David. I don't know. I mean, she can't do any worse than her husband, right?
Apparently she loved Bryce Young, and that's why they went with Bryce Young. So it's like,
so has Nicole been calling the shots the whole time? Is the real question.
That's what I'm starting to figure out. Like our friends asked, like we have a little group chat, and it's like they were like, well, Dave Canales I think can't call worse plays, and I'm like, well, David Tepper called the plays last year. Nicole Tepper's calling them this year, so maybe there's hope. And don't get me wrong, the things like Nicole is responsible for in terms of like giving back to the community and all that stuff, like kudos, I'll give the Teppers credit there. I will not just bash them. Like they have done a lot for the Carolinas, which has been really cool, and Nicole has really been the driving force of that. But stay out of the football stuff. Just stay out of the football decisions. Like let the football people do their job.
What are your thoughts on this, Philip? Are you buying into Bobby's criticisms here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's doing what over there. Either way, it's not been working. The owners need to band together and fire Tepper. I do have a word. I did put in a word with a one-share owner of the Green Bay Packers, Scott Rogers, to see what he could do to get Tepper fired, and he said he would do everything he could. So maybe the Packers are on our side. Yeah.
Scott, the pressure's on.
Look, I'm ticked off too, but I've been trying to ignore it in the offseason like Bobby. Like, kudos to you for keeping up with this much, but I've just been watching hockey and
I'm just trying to
ready
get
for
hope.
NASCAR season.
I'm not expecting the Panthers to win 5 or 6 games next year. I just want optimism that things are going to get better and things are going to improve. And like, just I don't know, dude. It's just like listening to some of these national media guys. Like the easiest comparison is to Dan Snyder, and hearing guys on the NFL Network and Albert Breer, who I mentioned I like a lot. Like they always push back on the Snyder comparison because apparently like Tepper, for the most part, is a pretty decent human being, which Snyder was not. But it's just, I don't know.
Unless he's throwing drinks on somebody.
Yeah, right. think of all the land he's tore up to build stuff and then just gotten out of it.
Yeah, whatever happened to that practice facility?
Yeah, there's been 2 facilities he's half built. No, he's, from what I understand from people in the business area of Charlotte, he's not really that good of a guy.
Okay.
Well, at least he has given back to the community.
He has. I guess that's his way of like reconciling. It's just funding a bunch of money.
Right.
I did see they took out their bubble. They took out their practice bubble, so they no longer have a practice bubble. We have an NFL franchise that doesn't have a place to practice indoors outside of the Charlotte Convention Center.
They're just like the Pirates of ECU.
Well, here's the thing, Pirates, John Gilbert. I've seen they're going to donate that bubble, and maybe they transport it down here to Greenville, and now we have our indoor facility resolved. All will be forgiven, David Tepper, if that's the case.
Maybe they can work out a partnership. Super Bowl coming up, guys, Sunday. And how do you handicap this game? Are you excited about it? I don't know. I can't get much buzz going.
Nah, I'm not really excited about it. I don't know. I'm so done with the Chiefs. I'm tired of it. And honestly, the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl kind of annoy me. I tend to I work from home, so I have a TV in my office, and I tend to just have Good Morning Football on mute, and then I'll unmute it if I see something like kind of intriguing. But I mean, it's just been all these. It's just not interesting to me. I guess the most I'm looking forward to is seeing Kyle Shanahan call the game. That's probably seeing him call the offense of the game and just seeing how they do. I definitely hope the 49ers win, but I don't know. You got a legacy team in the 49ers. The Chiefs, I'm kind of over. Tired of all the Taylor Swift stuff. Tired of all the Patrick Mahomes. Like, I'm just ready to move on from them.
Speaking of Good Morning Football, did you see the other day when they had the second gentleman on there talking about, I don't remember what his name is, but Kamala's husband talking about his fantasy football team?
No.
That's what they had on Good Morning Football. I was, again, not watching this. I do not care about a politician's husband's fantasy football team.
I have not turned on ESPN nor NFL Network since the end of the AFC NFC Championship game, because I don't want to watch Get Up or whatever the heck it is on ESPN.
Yeah, I don't watch any of that crap on ESPN.
Can't take it anymore.
The biggest disappointment to me is YouTube TV not figuring something out with the MLB Network.
I know.
MLB
That's
Network
the one
was
channel I enjoy watching.
Yep.
Speaking of that, we're trying to get Connor Norby on here in the next few days, working with O's, the Baltimore Orioles PR. So hopefully we can have that for you before he reports to spring training. All right, let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. We've got one person who is calling for a 4-game winning streak for ECU men's basketball.
I'll take it.
We'll discuss that and more to wrap up the show. Hoist the colors on a Wednesday.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
Hey, grab me one too.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport. Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is ECU head football coach Mike Houston, and you're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. That was the voice of Mike Houston. By the way, next Wednesday, we will have media availability with head coach Mike Houston as well as all of the assistant staff inside Town Bank Tower. That'll be Wednesday morning before our show, so we might have some of that audio for you on Wednesday when Bobby joins us next week. So looking forward to that. We'll get to know some of the new staff members. All right, a few minutes left here on the program. We've discussed a little bit of everything. We'll circle back here, talk some Pirate hoops. Johnny Robertson says, I predict a 4-game winning streak is about to begin starting in San Antonio. So ECU, again, the men's team, off this week. They go to UTSA, which has played some crazy games this year. That'll be a 4 o'clock tip-off on Saturday. Then Wichita State at home, Tulane at home, at Rice. I would categorize all 4 of those as winnable. But the odds of winning 4 in a row, I would put that at what? 5%? Maybe even less than that.
I would say for about 300 of the other teams in NCAA basketball, it's a 4-game winning streak. ECU, I'm not so sure. I'm worried they may lose to UTSA. Like, their record's bad.
Will probably be favored.
And the thing that will, in theory, should they? Yes. You got Wichita State at home. You've already beaten Tulane, has not had the year that we thought they would. And then Rice on the road, which is,
it's winnable.
Winnable as well. So definitely winnable. I'm going to say 2-2 is what they come out of that 4-game streak with.
I would say that's probably the realistic option. If they do win 4 in a row and they go into the Memphis game,
that's massive.
I mean, that would be lit, as the young fellas say.
You go up to 15-12, 8-6 in conference after that. And here's the thing to me that I'm still why I haven't learned yet and holding on hope. Like, the conference tournament is still very winnable. Like, to your article you just put out on your 5 things that need to change, if they get a guy hot shooting the basketball, they get 1 or 2 of those guys hot from 3, like, you can go on a run. Now, I think of your 5 points, I think probably 2 of them happen.
Right.
But, yes.
I mean, that's the thing. They're playing good enough defense to where if they just shoot a little bit, like a little bit, they could win these games. They could win 4 in a row. And that was why my number one point was you can't, like, have a drop-off defensively because then the scoring has to be made up too much. I am interested about the UTSA game because they're a fast-paced, high-scoring team. Like, does ECU have the personnel to shut that down, or does that mean ECU can maybe get its offense going? Because they have given up like 100-plus points in multiple games too. So Saturday should be interesting, maybe, if nothing else.
I think so. I'm going to try to tune in and watch. UTSA has one of the weirder gymnasiums in the conference. It kind of has a high school feel, like a big wall, if I remember correctly, kind of right up next to the court.
Looks like a high school gym.
Yeah. And because I always keep an eye on the other teams in the Americans gym, like outside of Memphis, which is ridiculous. Like, how do they compare to ECU? What does the gym look like? What does the arena look like? I think we're kind of on par with everybody else in the conference.
No doubt. Well, Bobby, this has been fun, man. We're out of time, but appreciate it as always. Good rants, as always.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Look forward to being back next week and having some Mike Houston comments to dissect.
Absolutely. Philip, appreciate you as always. We'll be back tomorrow. Scott Rogers will join us as we gear up for ECU baseball season. He'll start joining us every Thursday going forward. This is Hoist the Colors. Talk to you tomorrow.
Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the Colors on 943 The Game.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very